What is up, everybody? Welcome into an all-new episode of Pack-A-Day Live. I am your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. I am overjoyed to be joined by two amazing guests today. The one and only Theo Ash. You can find him on Twitter at Theo Ash NFL. He is, of course, of the Stay Hot Pod. You can find him with brilliant analysis over on TikTok as well, where he does tremendous work. Theo, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you as well. I appreciate it a ton. And then, of course, my other guest, Dusty Evely. You can find him on Twitter or X at Dusty Evely. You can find him on Cheesehead TV, Packer Report, Pack-A-Day, watching zombie movies, wherever he can find a VCR. Dusty, how the heck have you been and how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's a little cold. Like I was telling you guys ahead of time, we're a little snowed in at the moment, so we're all a little stir crazy, but this week, my only thought this week is I want to talk as much about the Packers as humanly possible this week. And you must have read my mind. So thanks for having me on, Andy.
Yeah, you bet. Super excited to be chatting Packers. Wondering if there is something wrong with the comment section because I haven't seen any comments come through yet, which is there we go. There we go. Most hated Minnesotan. Usually there's like piling up by this point. So I'm like, oh crap, did I like screw something up with comments? But most hated Minnesotan, great to see you, my friend. For those of you who are in the chat, feel free to start asking questions and we will go through any questions that you guys want to get to. Hopefully I don't have just like members only turned on or something, but Dusty, here we go. Stay hot appearance on Pack-A-Day. We got that as well.
What's going
Dusty,
on, Ryan?
There you go. Dusty, let's start with you. Just kind of going over what we saw last week, obviously with Packers Cowboys. We've had the opportunity to watch it and rewatch it and go through some of the passing game concepts. So I always, whenever you're on, I just love giving you the floor to nerd out for whatever you want to nerd out about. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Man, they had some really nice counters to stuff they did. I mean, obviously leak, which was, always beautiful. That's the third time they ran it this year, which was awesome. But they've also been running a whole lot of kind of like I've been calling it benches, or you've got like the little Portland concept where you got like the deep dig from one side. They hit Dobbs on one of those. It was reverse, like stuff that we've not seen, stuff they've been setting up all year. We've not seen from them yet this year. I mean, the running game helps. They had some really good stuff off play action, but they had a couple really, really nice variations to like some of their core concepts we just hadn't really seen much of this year. And those reversals kind of paid off really big. So it was, it's one of those, the passing stuff was awesome. When there's 21 dropbacks, it's tough to get like, oh man, look, they set up this, there's 21. Like they obviously went in with like, this is what they want to do. And they did it well. I still think there's a couple love missed. I'll be nitpicky, couple love missed in some of the shorter stuff, but for the most part, I mean, I thought he looked good, and the game plan for the passing was really, really good. If the running game hadn't been working, I wonder what the pass game would have looked like. But yeah, they trotted out some really, really nice stuff, dude.
Theo, I know you've had the opportunity to go back and rewatch this as well. What were some of your key takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I see the comment that about Love's improved accuracy, and I thought that the poise and the calmness that he has in the pocket compared to now versus 3 months ago is kind of night and day. I thought that there were some times early in the year where he was kind of disappointingly panicky after what we saw in the Eagles game last year when he hit the top of his drop and got it out. I expected him to really kind of come out and be just kind of amazing in the pocket, but that wasn't, he was kind of jittery earlier on. And now he's really got the thing figured out where he can just like step back and whip it off his back foot. And I think that's almost given him a kind of confidence that he kind of has that in his bag. And he just like, there was a rep early in the game where Micah Parsons was really bull rushing Zach Tom. And it was kind of collapsing in on him, and he just stepped back. And then Myers was also getting bull rushed and actually fell over. Tom ended up finishing the block pretty well, and he just stepped back and fired it in there. And I think that earlier in the year, he wasn't doing that quite as much. He was a little bit more jumpy. So I think that the receivers running routes that they're actually supposed to run, and just Love getting more and more comfortable and kind of figuring out his own personal style and like the way he wants to play the game is why everything has been clicking lately.
I was gonna say, you could trust that your receivers are going to be where they're going to be. Like you see, that was my theory earlier in the season, was the hesitation is my guy's supposed to be there. I don't know if my guy's going to be there. And so you get that extra hitch, and he's not doing that now. And I do kind of wonder if he's doing that a little bit. I do wonder if a big part of it is just, I know my dude's going to be there. I don't have to question it anymore. I know he's going to be there. And if not, like, I'm just chucking it into space at this point. He's trusting it, which has been really awesome.
I think the cool thing is I think there's aspects of all of it. I think number one is that everyone around him is also playing better. The offensive line, Rasheed Walker's played better in the second half. Over this past month, even John Runyon Jr., I feel like has looked much better. The wide receivers are not running into each other in the same spots. They're more apt to be exactly where they're supposed to be. Like you said, Dusty. Theo, to your point, I do feel like he's found his own personal rhythm a little bit more. There's like even earlier when we talked about some of the deep ball where it was like, it's almost like he was aiming it. It was like trying to like picture in his mind what a perfect pass was supposed to be instead of just getting to the back of his drop and ripping it. And we've heard Matt talk about that as well. It feels like he's just more comfortable with playing the way the quarterback that he wants to play it. And there's always that balance of like, all right, I've had a million different quarterback coaches and gurus and everything telling me exactly what this is supposed to look like. But I also kind of want to find my own way of doing it. And I think he's kind of found that a little bit as well. And then just, I think the game slowing down for him and the more and more that he's been able to process and see. It's funny. I mentioned it earlier this week where it's almost like the first half of the season was him observing and just taking mental notes of everything that was happening. And then it was like the switch flipped and he's like, oh, I understand all of this now. I know exactly what to do no matter what. And it was just all of a sudden it was there. And we've seen so much more of that calmness, the poise, the confidence, and just his ability to hit the back of his drop and rip the ball. And then also do the stuff ad lib, also do the stuff pre-snap. And all of a sudden you go from a quarterback that's like, all right, clearly this is a starting quarterback, but like, what's the ceiling? Is he just kind of like a middle of the road starter to like, oh, all right, well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't know. Either of you guys have anything to add on top of that?
I mean, I'll just say, I think we talked about early in the season, Andy, was that he's still at times, there are still times when he's missing his layups. And you want him to miss his layups, or you want him to make his layups. I mean, but he's balancing that out so well now with hitting that deep stuff. Early in the season, he was missing his layups and missing everything deep. Now he's hitting the deep stuff. He's extending. He's attacking the middle of the field, like a lot of the intermediate stuff, and even some of the shorter stuff. I know this past weekend he was doing it, like those quick outs or stick routes or whatever. He's missing those outside. He missed a couple of those high and outside. Early in the season, he's missing those a little late and inside, and I'd rather the high and outside. Those don't get pick six. So if he's going to miss those, seems like he's corrected that a little bit. He's erring towards the side of kind of sailing those a bit. So if he can just calibrate that a little bit more, a lot of those layups, that's one of those things. Is he one of those guys that's ever going to get there? I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem like, as we've seen throughout the season, there's things that he has fixed, whether that's like we've talked about, fixing his own rhythm, whether that's kind of finding what works for him, trusting his guys a little more, whatever that is. Some of those accuracy issues, we're seeing differences in them, still a little bit off, but the deep ball coming together and guys being where they're supposed to be. It turns out if you can throw the deep ball and your receivers are running the right routes, your offense can look pretty good. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, very well said. Let's jump into this 49ers matchup because I know there's going to be a lot of questions on that. And obviously that's the key to this week. So Theo, I'll start with you. What matchups do you feel like Green Bay can exploit on offense against the 49ers defense, and where can they kind of try to stay hot on offense moving forward?
I think the pass protection is going to be key. And that's actually a matchup that I think that they can do a better job of than it looks like maybe on paper when you look at Hargrave and Chase Young and Nick Bosa and those guys. It's been a good pass rush, especially since the bye. But I watched the Ravens game, and there were plays where Lamar had a really long time to stand in there. And what I'm looking for is the auxiliary blockers doing a good job, like Kraft or Aaron Jones, adding a little bit of extra help if they can get that to Nick Bosa and then slide the other way. Maybe it's just like Elton Jenkins, who's one-on-one, and that could be a matchup they can win. The 49ers also like to rotate their pass rushers in and out. So for a lot of plays, it might be, someone like Cleveland Farrell, although I think he might be questionable for that game, instead of Chase Young, where you can really dial up your shots, even though on paper it looks like they may not have the front, or they do have the front that won't allow you to do that. I think the Packers still will be able to access some of those longer developing plays. And I'm anticipating them holding up in pass pro. And that's what I'm really looking forward to watching.
Dusty?
I'm all run game, man. I do so much about the pass game. That run game has been incredible. And the big thing for me, just watching the Niners defense, I mean, this is nothing that anyone has said before. They are a vicious attacking group. Like they're looking to, when they fire off the ball, it's aggressive. Like they're getting downhill. There's none of this two gap nonsense. They're looking to get in the backfield and mess some stuff up, which may lead to some ugly tackle for losses. But the way the Packers were working stuff in, I mean, since last year, a lot of the escort motion stuff with the tight end motion to replace kind of a pulling guard and the pull a guy across, some of the traps, some of the counter stuff we've seen, that can work against some of that the aggressive Niners defense. So if you get some screens in there, Packers screen game, I was tracking this early in the year. I've not done it lately. Screen game was real bad early. They've come around a little bit more, but if in the run game, if they can get those pullers going, you get the way Kraft has been playing. I was going to say DeGuara, but not the way DeGuara's been playing. But the way Kraft's been playing, pulling, run blocking, you get him on some of the escort motion, attack the different gaps that way. Have him pull through the B, have him pull through the C. Then you replace. You get the pulling guard. You got to replace wherever the puller is. You got to make sure that no one's shooting that gap, so it gets tricky with as fast as these guys shoot up. But if you can get them back and then hit them, you can hit some really nice cutback lanes, which Jones did a really nice job of against the Cowboys. So against the aggressive front, they've got to be, I mean, clean on those run blocks and really look to take advantage of those upfield guys, which I think they can do. I mean, it's not going to be all game. Obviously, Niners can adjust, but that's early on. That's certainly the big thing they can do to get the run game going.
Yeah, Sumo Orange seems to agree with you to get the run game going. I'm totally in agreement as well. And just the way Aaron Jones is playing, Madigan mentioned it in his press conference today. It hasn't always been perfect up front, but Jones can take poor run blocked plays and make it into something spectacular. And we've seen that over the course of these past few games. I thought Carolina was such a great example of that. But he's just running just brings a totally different dynamic to the offense. Mike Wall calls him like the lighter fluid of the offense, which he 1,000,000% is. And it's so fun to see. We sort of dreamed as Love was starting to find his groove of like, man, imagine if Aaron Jones gets back and what the offense could look like then. Well, now we've seen it and it looks really freaking good. Killer Kenny, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Really appreciate that. And Tyler, thanks for the super chat. What's your opinion of Walker's performance at left tackle? Is he a long-term solution? And if so, what do we do with Bakhtiari? Theo, I'll let you start off with Walker first, and then we can kind of transition into the Bakhtiari form of that conversation.
I think that he's done a nice job. I think that he is obviously a freak athlete, as the Packers always draft. And I think like as the season has gone on, you've been able to see that a little bit more. And he's always kind of been able to, I think, contort himself and just like barely survive, at the beginning of the year. I think that was, he was just getting toasted to the point where, he couldn't recover. But now I think it's just a bit more confidence. Honestly, I think that Dusty might be better served to answer this question, studying the Packers game in and game out. But yeah, I've definitely noticed a lot of improvement. But sorry, the details are failing me.
You're good. Let's see.
I did a big thing in the preseason about how like I did some video of like a bunch of preseason snaps. I walked through 20 of them, something like that. And I think my thing at the end was something to the effect of, boy, if he has to start any games with the Packers this year, I'm not really going to sweat it. And then I felt real dumb early in the season because he looked completely out of his element. He was swimming, slow out of his break, looked like lead feet. Like run blocking was non-existent, which that was mostly the offensive line. And then pass blocking, he was getting beat a lot. I don't know that I'm ready to say like lock him in, starter for left tackle, get rid of Bakhtiari. The Bakhtiari thing's weird anyway, just because like who knows if/when he comes back, how long he's gonna be able to play, how many games. It's such a weird freak thing. I almost don't even like talking about Bakhtiari because it's like he doesn't know. No one knows how this is going.
Right.
But if Rasheed Walker is a starting left tackle next year, damning with favorite, you could do a lot worse. He has improved. He has gotten much better. He's like Theo said, I think he's more confident. Feet look better. Hands look better. He's getting in position. He will still get beat. He will still have times he's losing on run stuff. Everyone does to some extent. So there is certainly room for improvement. But like a lot of the team, man, where he's come from week one until now, if they right now, for whatever reason, if someone said right now, Rasheed Walker is a left tackle week one next year, and they're not going to change it, Packers aren't going to change that, I think I would feel fine with that as of right now. And I certainly didn't feel that way in week 2 of this year.
Yeah, I feel the same way. As far as Bakhtiari's future goes, I think they gotta, like, his trade value can't be much, right? Unless he's going to the Jets, I guess, for a first round pick potentially. I think that your idea has to be, he played really good football, like elite football when he was in. Let him try it out. If he doesn't retire, if he comes back, if he's healthy, you might as well like give him a shot. And then if Rasheed Walker is your backup, that's a pretty great situation. And then, if Bakhtiari retires after next season, which I can't imagine he has too many years left, you've got a a built-in backup option, and linemen always are getting hurt. So I don't think that there's a way the Packers can really lose that situation. I don't think they need to make it harder than it needs to be. It's just see where Bakhtiari's at. If he's ready to go, throw him in there at left tackle, and Rashid will be ready to go. And if he's not, then you've got a good backup, or a decent starter at least, and someone with a lot of upside and who's trending upwards. So I think it's a good situation for Green Bay.
You guys hit on so many of the things that I wanted to talk about, but I think the really cool thing is if Bakhtiari never plays another snap, not that that's a really cool thing, but if that happens, if they lose John Runyon Jr. and Yosh Nijman in free agency, if they don't draft a single offensive lineman and don't sign a single one in free agency, they're going to have some depth issues if all those things were to come true. But you feel comfortable going into next season, Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Zach Tom, because for the most part, that's what they're playing right now. Now, granted, John Runyon Jr. is playing about half the game and Sean Ryan's playing about the other. But outside of a half of the game for John Runyon Jr., that's what they've made this impressive offensive run with, is exactly that group of players. So like in all of those guys, again, that I just mentioned, the five, left to right, including Sean Ryan at right guard instead of Runyon, all those five are under contract next year and they're good to go. And you feel comfortable starting all of them at this point. I've said all along, like through these past, 6-7 weeks, I still think what you would like to ideally do is continue to draft 1, competition, and 2, depth. And if you can get some guys that have some versatility, which we know Green Bay is going to draft anyway, because that's what they always draft along the offensive line, then if you get a couple guys, maybe a second rounder, maybe a fourth rounder, now you've got competition for Rasheed Walker. And either that pushes Rasheed Walker to be better or the other guy is better. Like, they're great. Same thing at right guard. Same thing, hopefully, at center. To me, Elton and Zach Tom are your 2 guys that you have locked in. And then you continue to grow, because what we also know right now is that if Jordan is protected, this offense, like, they don't need more weapons. They don't need a different quarterback. All you have to do is protect that dude right now and open running lanes for Aaron Jones and company. And they're going to put up, 30 some points a game from what we've seen so far. So just continue to draft and develop that specific position, because it's still so important and they're hard to find. And then the other thing, just about Bakhtiari really quick, there's so much complicated here. The easiest thing is exactly what Dusty said, and just like compartmentalize it and just be like, if he plays, awesome. If he doesn't, whatever, like, just put it to the side. But his contract is weird in the fact that he's got 19 mil guaranteed, 21 million basically in like a base salary plus some roster bonuses. There's no way they're going to let him play on that. However, if he's injured and they release him, then you get into injury settlements, which you might end up having to pay the whole thing anyway. It just gets really messy really fast. There's probably no trade value on top of that. If you would want to go play for Aaron Rodgers in the Jets, maybe the best case scenario is to say, hey, don't do an injury settlement thing. We will let you out of your contract to go sign with him. We get out of the $21 million. You get to go play for the Jets. That's the trade. The trade is they get $21 million back and that he gets to go play for wherever team he wants to play for. But if he can play and he plays like Theo was mentioning, like he did last year in week 1 against the Bears this year, you have an all-pro left tackle that's like just joining the team, because he was still really freaking good when he was in. So it's hard to prognosticate exactly what's going to happen with that entire situation, because, to repeat what Dusty said, I don't think David knows. I don't think Goody knows. I don't think Russ Ball knows. I don't know. Dusty's mom doesn't know. We're just all in the dark here. So I think that's where we probably need to leave it.
Don't talk about my mom like that. She might. You don't know what she's up to right now.
She probably does know. All right. We got a couple other super chats here. Shane, I think if McDuffie plays, it will go a long way towards containing Christian McCaffrey. Am I dumb, or is he the best tackler that we have? Either of you guys want to take this one?
Take it away, Theo. If you got thoughts, man, like I got thoughts, but have at it, brother.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say it would go a long way towards containing him, but you know how
Christian McCaffrey's really good. He's really good unless Isaiah McDuffie's in the game. That is his one kryptonite is Isaiah McDuffie.
I like McDuffie, but I don't know if he's the best tackler that they have, or if he's gonna be the McCaffrey stopper. I'll say.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there's such a thing as a McCaffrey stopper. It'd be real nice. It'd be real nice to have one of those. I mean, Quay seems like a better solution that could potentially stop McCaffrey than McDuffie. I do like McDuffie. When he was drafted, what was the thing on him? He's like kind of like a Tasmanian devil. Like he's just kind of like will run full speed at you. Like he has done very well at that. But yeah, McCaffrey stopper. Yeah, I don't think anyone has one of those.
the best way to stop CMC is it's got to be an entire group effort, and you've got to cut off all the run lanes, the cutback lanes. Everyone's got to rally to the football. You've got to be a super sound tackling, because whether it's Debo or Ayuk or McCaffrey or Kittle, if you don't wrap up and there's nobody there to also help out, like they're just going to they're going to take a 5-yard gain and turn it into a 55-yard gain. Those are the things that are going to be important. And the big thing about this defense, where I felt like it's been a little bit better over these past 3 weeks, is just the fundamental stuff. Tackling's been a little bit better. Communication's been a little bit better. They've been a little bit more sound in their defensive fronts. I feel like, married things up on the back end a little bit better. It's just like little things that are super important being done a little bit better to make things a little bit harder on the opposing offense. And if you can just keep San Francisco in that 24-point range rather than the 34-point range, then you give your offense enough opportunity to succeed. And if you can get a turnover or two within that, like we saw against Dallas, then it changes the calculus entirely. But no CMC stopper, but you've got to have a total team effort in order to even have a chance against him.
Yeah, I would say also the best tackler that the Packers have is probably Quay, if you talk about his length and his range. McDuffie doesn't quite have those, long pterodactyl arms to bring guys down with. So I would say, if I'm grading best tackler, I don't know if you guys would agree, I'd probably say Quay. I mean, I don't know. I don't really think they have a necessarily elite tackler, unless I'm thinking.
No, you are 1,000,000% right, and that's one of the issues. It's like they're not a great tackling team. Like, they're like collectively, like their corners, Valentine and Jair, not great tacklers. Savage can take some bad angles. Jonathan Owens is fine, but not great. Quay, Devondre in his All-Pro year was really, really good at it, but as of late has not been the same. And then, sure, defensive linemen are good at it if they can get their hands on them, but that's not always the case either. So, yeah, it's just not a super great tackling team. And I guess Quay has as good of an argument as anyone on the roster to be the best of an average group of tacklers. But they need to be really good this week. And Vex, holy crap, my man. Thank you so incredibly much for that. Vex, let's take a minute to appreciate the people and things you are thankful for. Thank you for making the Packers fun and saving me from national coverage. You are welcome. We got another national coverage week of, I think everyone on picking 49ers logos probably, we've seen a couple of them already. I think NFL Network's already got maybe one out there, but we're going to see that again. But Vex, that is amazingly kind of you. You have been showing up for every single one of these chats, and you've been super generous with all of that. So appreciate you a ton. And thanks so much for being here. All right. Adam says he is watching Pack-A-Day. The Bucks. Oh no, I know Giannis is out, so that's probably not a good sign. And AEW, life is good. Hopefully those other things are going better than the Bucks game. All right. What else do we want to talk about here? Sumo, the Niners games, they did lose some games, so they can be beaten. I don't know if either of you have had a chance to deep dive 49ers and what's been sort of their kryptonite in some games. Either of you have a good feel for all right, here's the recipe for beating San Francisco this week?
I looked at the Ravens game, and it was like all the stuff from just because it was like my path. I would think to take care of them is just make Brock Purdy do dumb Brock Purdy things because he can short circuit. He'll throw a couple balls up to you. And what's the best way to basically make him uncomfortable? He's good against pressure, but a lot of that pressure stuff seems to be off the edge. So honestly, some of the stuff I think the Packers are fairly well suited to. The Niners don't have a great interior of the defensive or the offensive line. Like, it's real bad, especially pass rush stuff. And what he struggles with, as every quarterback does, is crush the pocket on him from the middle, don't give him an escape route, and then he'll do some remarkably dumb stuff. Like all of his, I think he had through 4 picks in that Ravens game, if I'm not mistaken. One of them was like a tip ball. One of them he didn't see the safety, and all the other ones were basically crush the pocket, and then he panicked and chucked that sucker to God knows where, and they ended up picking him off. So if they can do some of that, without a doubt. I mean, listen, the Vikings also beat the Niners, and that felt like a weird game. But that seems like the big thing. Crush the pocket from the inside, make him uncomfortable. He's going to throw you 3, take advantage of him.
Yeah, there's a play against the Browns too, where Myles Garrett was one-on-one, and I don't even think he was quite seeing what happened. Like, Garrett was one-on-one, and it was versus Trent Williams, so he probably should have been fine. But when he kind of disappeared into his blind spot, Like he just threw it directly to Martin Emerson. And I don't even think Garrett was winning that rep versus Trent Williams, but just the fact that it was one-on-one and the fact that he couldn't quite see what was going on, I think kind of sped him up a little bit. And he missed a throw that he almost always hits just a dig that was open to Ayuk. Like you would think that he would hit that every single time, but with a little bit of maybe pressure, a good defensive player that he can't quite account for, or that he's feeling breathing down his neck. Yeah, I think the key is pressure. And that's what Devontae Wyatt said today. Pretty boldly. He was like, Purdy will miss if you get any pressure on him. And I don't know if it'll be quite that easy, but he's right. If you can kind of make him sweat a little bit, he's not the most poised. He's not Mahomes, who, always seems to make the play regardless of pressure. Like he just doesn't care about pressure at all. Like that's not quite what Purdy's about.
And Captain Quinn's kind of in the same ballpark here. Do we have a chance to wreck their offensive line? I think it starts there. I don't know, wreck is the right word. Trent is obviously amazing at left tackle, arguably the best offensive lineman in football. But outside of that, I do think there's advantages. This is a big game in my opinion for Rashawn Gary. I've been kind of talking about it this week. They need a little bit more of an impact from him. I do wonder if post ACL, especially coming back week 1, if we're just seeing the residual effect of him just kind of hitting a wall a little bit right now. And I do think, though, that there needs to be a little bit more of an impact from Rashawn. We need to see at least a sack, if not 2 sacks, and or even if it's pressure, that's fine. And hopefully he can force some of those mistakes by Brock Purdy. But this is a defensive front that has to find a way to win up front. You're probably going to fight a losing battle a lot against Trent Williams on that side. So you're going to probably want to put your best players on the opposite side, specifically Rashawn, but maybe give Preston a little bit of run over there as well. But you also have to have somebody that can hold up against Trent in the run game, which is probably going to need to be Preston in that situation. But Kenny Clark needs a big game. Devontae Wyatt needs a big game. Slate needs a big game. They got to be able to eat up front, or again, this could be a very long day with all the weapons that San Fran has.
Yeah, I mean the interior is really, that's the biggest. What is Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, and Spencer Burford. And listen, you can take PFF's grade with a grain of salt. Like I understand that. Every single one of those guys' pass rush grade is like sub 40, which is like unplayable stuff. So I'm with you. Wreck, I don't know, but man, they could cause some havoc up the middle. And if you can wreck some stuff inside with the way Clark's been playing, with the way Wyatt's been playing to some extent, move Quay around, bring him some interior pressure. Like I think that's their best chance. The tackles feel like a losing battle. If you can cause some ruckus up front in the middle, you can really cause some problems, I think.
Do you think you could employ almost a Miami strategy against them too, where you jam them up at the line of scrimmage and try to disrupt the timing? That's something that's worked against the Dolphins multiple times in the past, and flood the intermediate zones with bodies as much as you can. Like that kind of, that's how you beat the digs. It's all timing stuff. I saw a comment say like Purdy's a quick thrower, but if you can kind of disrupt the timing, maybe he won't be so quick. And that's another thing I think that has been successful against these types of schemes. I don't know if they'll do it all day, but a couple reps of it here and there, I wouldn't be opposed to.
They've been playing, Andy, and I think you probably spent more time on the defensive side than I have. They've been playing more press than they have. I don't know about getting hands on, but they've been playing more press back half of the year than they would before. And I know, just knowing him from college and knowing what he wants to do, Carrington Valentine would press all day, every day. He wants hands on every single person. So if you let that man, he's going to give it his level best to get hands every single time. So I think that's a solid plan. I mean, the other thing would be some of the sim pressure stuff, right? That the Ravens do, that Barry just apparently thinks is illegal and he won't do it, but mug the A gap and fall. I mean, if you're pressing guys on the outside, then you're flooding, you don't know where pressure is coming from, could be coming up the middle. And then you're flooding kind of the intermediate middle zone by dropping guys out off sim pressure. Like you can really cause some problems there. I don't know that's like, we've not seen Barry do that. So I don't think he will,
yeah.
But that's a way you can.
And it can be a way to kind of waste Trent Williams if you have a guy lined up across from him who he thinks he's going to block, and then he drops into coverage. All of a sudden, he has nothing to do, and you're rushing somewhere else. That's something that who tried to do it again? The Rams were trying to do it against Sewell. They kept dropping Hoyt out into coverage, and Sewell, I mean, it didn't work because Hoyt just got picked on. But it was a way to try to waste Penei Sewell in a way. But like you guys say, the Packers don't really do much of it.
Witchcraft. Joe Barry thinks it's witchcraft. He won't do it. Refuses to do it.
maybe this is the week. This is where you go complete opposite and just
Been
do
waiting
everything
3 years to unveil this.
one day. I know, right? I think also the big one here too is if you do want to do some of that, having Jair Alexander would be a huge key to this one because Ayuk is. I don't know that Ayuk gets. I think nationally Ayuk is starting to get the credit he deserves, but for those of you who haven't gone and watched Brandon Ayuk, he is so freaking good. And if you are going to be super aggressive with him at the line, he's the guy that I'm most concerned about, just like sidestepping it and burning you down the field. And all of a sudden it's a 70-yard touchdown to Ayuk. But if you've got a guy like Jair that can have the ability to stick with him a little bit more, I feel a lot more comfortable with a little bit more pressure and a little bit more press. I'm not saying Valentine couldn't do it on a couple different plays here and there, especially as a changeup. But if you want to be more aggressive, you want to play a little bit more man, sure, would be really nice to have Jair Alexander healthy and available to play against Ayuk in just some of those tough matchups. All right. What else do we want to get to here? Oh, we had a question specifically from Matt to Dusty. How much does Matt need to donate for Dusty to shave his face live on stream to match Andy and Theo's faces?
You don't want to see whatever's going on under here right now, Matt. I can promise you that, brother.
Man, if you can grow a full beard like that, don't shave it.
My brothers have taken a call on me a gray beard, so I'm getting. Listen, I'm on the verge of shaving it. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. But
all right, well, this is a good question from Wade. I like your opinion on. Are we concerned there is no one to efficiently spell Aaron Jones? I'll take it first, and then I'll let you guys chime in. First of all, we don't officially know that like Dylan won't be available in this game, although I guess you could make an argument that he hasn't necessarily efficiently spelled Aaron Jones through the course of the season. But I'm not super concerned by it. The first thing is it does seem like with Jones kind of the main one available that they're just giving him the ball more, which signed me the hell up. I'm totally cool with that. And like number two, that the pass offense is so efficient right now as well that if Jones isn't in, I know you still need to like hand it off every once in a while just to keep things honest, but like, I don't know, chuck it at that time. Like it's not as big of a deal to me right now. I do think it's something they absolutely have to address in the offseason is just get a little bit more juice, especially if you are going back with Aaron Jones, which I think is a foregone conclusion at this point, rightfully so. But he's to the age where you are going to have those games that he probably misses next year, just being a little bit more up there in age and the wear and tear. So you have to have somebody that's going to be a little bit more dynamic backing him up. And I think that's going to be something worth addressing. But right now, when everything on the line game, it's got to be Aaron Jones a ton and like just throw it when he's not in for the most part.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. If it was the regular season, I'd be concerned. But at this point, like hand of the rock.
Yeah, give it to him until the wheels fall off. Like if he's still running, because he was still running effectively, like in the fourth quarter. I love for years it was give the ball to Jones 20 plus times, and they weren't. I was, oh, what are they doing? And now they give it 20 plus times. Do we need someone to spell him? No, listen. At some point, maybe this will all end for him. Like this year, maybe his legs will give out. But right now, the stretch he's been on, I hand him the ball until he tells you, "Don't give me the ball anymore." At this point,
yep. And like. In an ideal world, like again, if you're drawing it up, you at minimum and probably want him to have 20 touches, like no matter what, like you probably whether that's 18 rushes and 2 or 3 receptions or whatever it is, like I don't think you want him under 20 touches almost no matter what. So if like he gets 28, it's not like oh my god, he hit 8 more, like his legs are gonna fall. He'll be fine. He missed enough time this year where his legs should be pretty much fresh. And I like it's not like they had to run him a ton last game either. With the score that they had, it was a super efficient game from the offense. I have zero concern about it at this moment. And in fact, this is going to sound harsh. I'm actually kind of fine with Dylan being out for that exact reason, just to make sure he gets the ball. Like I don't need that much AJ Dillon in this game.
No, we talked about that during the game. Me and my brothers were watching it and like, listen, I don't like that anyone's injured. That sucks. And I really like AJ Dillon.
Yep.
But AJ Dillon's injury has forced him to use Aaron Jones in a way they would never use with a healthy AJ Dillon. So just, man, keep rolling. If AJ Dillon is healthy, give him the 5 touches you give Emmanuel Wilson and just do the same exact thing you were doing with Aaron Jones at this point. Like we've learned our lesson. We don't need to do this anymore.
Totally with you. All right. Vex, how has BG hit on 0 running backs so far? Seems concerning.
How many is he drafted?
He's drafted Dylan. He's drafted Kylan Hill.
Goodson
was an undrafted guy.
Okay, undrafted. That's right.
Taylor was an undrafted guy. He's drafted 2, and it was a 7th round pick, Kylan Hill, unless I'm forgetting someone.
Lou Nichols this past year, right?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
he 7th round? Yeah.
7th round. He's an Eagles practice squad guy, if I remember correctly. So yes, two late 7th rounders and a 2nd rounder. It's not like Dylan's been like this complete bust. He's not been worth a 2nd round pick, but it's not like he's been a complete bust. So I would say it's less to do about hitting on running backs. It's just has to do with like not really prioritizing it. And I would just kind of leave it at that. I don't have like he can't draft running backs concern. They haven't really spent a lot of draft capital on it.
Dexter Williams. Someone in the chat said Dexter Williams. Was that a Goody pick?
That was a Goody pick, I think. That was about like a 6th rounder. I think 6th.
Maybe. I liked him.
Either way.
I got to get off this podcast. I've never heard of that man in my life.
You're not missing anything. Yeah, you're not missing anything by missing Dexter Williams.
USFL legend Dexter Williams, Theo.
I missed out on that plot line.
Nobody will blame you, I promise. The Niners are going to abuse our linebackers, aren't they? Dusty, this feels like a great start for you.
Yes, the end. Yes, they 100% will. I mean, that's what they want to do, right? Like I said, you got to be smart with it. I think they've had good plans in the past, but that's what Shanahan wants to do. And with the versatility and the guys that he has and what they can do, all the motion, but my big thing with offense has always been if you can go up tempo and keep the same personnel group in there and run power, just run it down your throats or go spread, it's impossible to defend, especially with a guy like Shanahan. And Niners have that. So yeah, they're going to go after the linebackers because it's the easiest people to exploit. They're also going to go after the corners because the DB room is not the deepest right now. And they have weapons and they've got a good scheme, but the linebackers, without a doubt, they're going to put those guys in a blender, dude.
The key will be, can we put them and their linebackers in a blender too? Because obviously Fred Warner, it's tough with him, but Greenlaw, he can bite on things. He can be manipulated with the eyes and really fly. And the last time we played them in the playoffs, I went back and watched that game. I didn't quite remember this. Our weapons were horrible. We had Daphne starting. We had Mercedes Lewis. Those were really our 2 tight ends. And the only guys who had targets really in that entire game were Aaron Jones and Adams. Like there weren't all these deep stable of weapons. Now we have
MVS was the only speed guy, right? And he was out. He missed that game. So
he missed that game. It was literally 129 receiving yards for Jones, 90 for Adams, 6 for Lazard, and 0 for everybody else. It was crazy. It's crazy how much better and deeper the offensive roster is now than it was then. I know that we were the 1 seed that year, but man, I think, and you look at the line too, it's way, way, way better now. So I mean, Rodgers was unbelievable that year. Obviously, I don't know if I would say Love is like better than him, but the rest of the roster, like absolutely night and day. So yeah, they're going to have our linebackers in hell, but there is a chance that we can have anybody's defense in hell at this point. I mean, that's going to be the key. It's probably going to be a shootout.
How do you line up? Either of you guys can answer this. How do you line up against their base personnel? Because you've got Juszczyk and Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Debo, and then Ayuk. And it's like you go base and they might still run on you, but they definitely are going to pass on you. And you're going to end up with situations where CMC or Debo or even Kittle, or maybe even doesn't even matter, is going to end up in a favorable matchup in the passing game. Green Bay has not done well in spread formations all year long. And now San Fran has literally the perfect personnel to hey, we're coming out in, base personnel, but we're going to just spread you out and you're still going to be mismatched everywhere. But you come out in nickel and they're absolutely probably going to run it down your throat. I don't know what you do to counteract that. Theo, you mentioned some of the stuff earlier of just kind of flooding it, but what even personnel package do you feel comfortable coming out against their base lineup?
Same stuff you normally do, probably whatever you're the most comfortable with, because it's a bad option either way. I mean, they've been a pretty base heavy team this year, a top 10 in base rate, according to the 33rd team's website. So they're probably going to do plenty of that. I don't know. Though I don't feel comfortable with any personnel.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. It'd be nice to have an answer. My answer would just be nickel. Because if they, and it depends, if they start ripping runs of like 20 yards every single time, I think you got to change it. You change midstream if you have to do that. I would just be like, listen, if they're going to get 5 yards of carry, they're going to get 5 yards of carry. Like whatever, they're going to do that. They're going to get 4.5 out of base. Who cares? Go nickel, try to prevent as much as you can against the big hitters, force their way down the field as much as humanly possible. And if they're just going to run it down your throat and they're going to have 13 plays of drive to get down there, if that's a possibility, I'm taking that. Now, again, if they come out and the first 3 plays are like 30 yards a pop on the ground, you got to rethink that. But I'm all in favor of give up some ground on the run. I feel like I'm a Joe Barry guy at this point. Not that the run doesn't matter. Give up ground on the run instead of the 45-yard pass over your head because you've got like a linebacker on Debo or something.
Dusty Evely, huge Joe Barry supporter.
Often said that.
You don't know. Often said. The one thing I struggle with is, and I'm not honestly sure I even know that I have a great feel for it one way or the other, but who do you want the ball in the hands of more? Do you want it more in Purdy's hands or do you want it more in McCaffrey's hands? Because I think I kind of want it more in Purdy's hands. Not that you can, again, come out in base personnel and just have him throw it all over with favorable matchups all day, because that's death too. But like, I do kind of feel like I'm more willing to, and maybe it's like nickel with a safety in the box. And then again, flooding some of the intermediate stuff and making them throw deep and say, if we got to find a way to make sure that they, we just don't allow him to be efficient throwing the ball deep. But I kind of want the ball in Purdy's hands more than I want it in McCaffrey's hands.
Yeah, I definitely want it in Purdy's hands because that probably means our offense is doing good. This is the first thing, right? Like if it's a Purdy has to beat us day, that means that we have probably are in the game or have a lead. So yeah, I want the ball in Jordan Love's hands as well. And if they're just chipping it away on the ground and not letting us, get the many possessions, that's a bad thing. So I'd rather have it in Purdy's hands. Yeah.
Somebody posted, where was it here? Wade said, is this just Josiah DeGuara's last game as a Packer? And Wade, the answer is obviously no, because Green Bay has another game a week from now. So they will be playing again against either the Buccaneers or the Lions. So I don't know, unless he gets hurt, I don't know how this could be his last game, Wade. Obviously that's the easy answer there. I think this is probably DeGuara's last season as a Packer though, unless anyone wants to battle me on that.
Before the season, I was ready to, Andy, but I've given up the ghost on that one, brother.
I know you were the last one in the clubhouse. So I know this hurts, but
it was a hipster pick. I was trying to be cool. I was trying to be different. It's all blown up in my face, Andy.
How dare you? From Niner fan, Pack is more dangerous than Lions and Bucks. They're more dangerous than the last time we played you because Aaron would only throw to 17. Yeah. What was your thoughts? And just kind of on top of this, and thanks so much for the chat, Keith. Dusty, I don't know if you saw, and Theo obviously as well, but if you guys saw the comments from Adam Stenovich today regarding the difference between Love and Rodgers at quarterback. I thought he finally said like the quiet part out loud, and like where LaFleur has just constantly been like, well, it's, we I don't know. He's just always kind of punted on it. But Steno just kind of is like, yeah, we know what the offense is actually going to be when we call a play now. But either of your thoughts on Steno's comments today?
It's the truth, I bet. I mean, I imagine that it is true. Like all the hot routes and audibles that he would call, it probably was hard. Like, I think that it was refreshing to hear him say it. And like he said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He said we had great results last year, but it is a little bit easier on us as a coaching staff that what we call is actually the play that goes through. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing to say. It's a common sense thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be a giant shot at Rodgers. And I agree with them. I think that probably is easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine. I think it's two different styles, right? Like it was Rodgers had complete mastery at the line. Like he would look for the matchups to his detriment sometimes. Teams would certainly in the playoffs pick on some of the stuff they knew that he kind of liked to do that bait him into different looks, and they do that. But I mean, that's kind of, he would go big game hunting. He'd hit stuff he's not going to hit otherwise. Like he could make the changes at the line. He could operate the way he wanted to operate. I don't have a problem with that. Just I don't have a problem with Love. It's both of these things where it's like I think it worked for each guy, but it is nice to have. I mean, And I think the young receiver room helps that as well, right? I mean, I think that's been a topic of conversation this week as well, with Jaden Reed, 0 targets, right? Christian Watson, 1 target, 1 catch. None of those guys are complaining. You throw to the open guy, you draw these things up, you get to the guy who's there, and you know that no one's like going to be on the sidelines, Stephon Diggsing at you, and just, I want the ball, give me the ball, and then you have to make sure you get it to him. The defense knows that as well. So, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's just Rodgers. I think it's just been the shift in this the offense as well, and kind of who the personnel and who they have. But yeah, like you said, I don't think it's a shot at anyone. I certainly don't take it as a shot at anyone. It's 2 different ways of kind of operating the position.
Agreed and well said by both of you. My only disagreement is, if there's anyone that should be demanding the ball, it's Bo Melton. Get that man the ball. Only 1 catch, or what? 1 catch? Come on. Feed Bo Melton. He should be going to the sidelines and demanding more passes his way, if anyone. It's Bo Melton time. All right, Captain Quint. Last one, then we probably got to get out of here. Does Goody use this game to determine what to do in the draft / offseason? Is this the team you have to beat the next few years? And are you roster building to beat the 49ers? I'll start on that one. I don't think it's quite like that, copy and paste or like cut and dry. I do think when you face a team like this, like the 49ers, which is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL, if they do beat you, you do sort of get a close look at, all right, what do we need to do different? What areas do we need to improve upon? And I do think there's probably going to be weaknesses that get exploited, win or loss, in this game. So I don't think it's just this game, but I think Goody will get a firsthand look of exactly where those roster holes are. I'm sure he is abundantly aware of where pretty much those holes are anyway. But if there is anything additional, he'll get a first look at it and know exactly what maybe they need in order to beat a team, whether it's the 49ers or a team like the 49ers moving forward. That's why I love this game. Like, I think they can compete. I think they can find a way to win. But if they don't, this is the perfect testing team to be like, where are we at? What are we still lacking? And how can we improve it moving forward? So I do think there is a piece of it of just being the final evaluation of what do you need to do in the offseason to continue to progress this team moving forward.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I am of the mind. I don't love the thought of do you build a team to beat this team? Because teams change, things evolve. What you want to do to beat that team, that's not the same team you're going to play in a year. That's not the same team you're going to play in 2 years. I think for I might be wrong on this. Like you said, Andy, I think it's a measuring stick game, but I also think a lot of the stuff that they think they need in the offseason, I think they already kind of know. I think the draft is kind of listen, we probably need some interior offensive line help. We're certainly going to need a running back. We need to bolster the DB room. I don't think, whether they beat the 49ers this weekend or whether they get beat by 40, I don't think that really changes the offseason plan that much. I think they're happy with the wide receiver room. I think they're happy with where Love is. I think they feel like they're set at some positions, but the Packers are the Packers, right? I think the offseason, they're going to go about it the same way they always go about it. That we're going to prepare for the draft the same way. I don't think they're going to go in saying, boy, the Niners burned us on this. We need to take the high, we need to trade up for an inside linebacker. I don't think that's going to happen. That's just not the way they operate.
Yeah. They're going to watch this game and they're going to come away with the same thing that they always do. And it's we need a 10 RAS defensive lineman. One more.
That's it. That's the guy.
One more, and we would have gotten him. That's what they're going to come away with.
So beautifully said. Amazing. All right, really quick. Keith Murphy, appreciate the chat again. What is Green Bay's opinion of Kyle Shanahan? I think it's as high as it can possibly be. Obviously, a lot of the concepts that Matt runs are very eerily reminiscent to some of the stuff that Kyle runs. Obviously, he has some McVay stuff in his system too. But I think nothing but respect for what Kyle has done. And obviously, the big thing left for Kyle is just to win a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it can't be this year because Green Bay needs to do it. But I'm sure he'll get there eventually and have that opportunity. But hopefully not this year for those 49er fans that are listening in. But tons of respect for what Shanahan's done in San Francisco. No question about it. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Theo, I will start with you. Where can we find all of your amazing work and plug anything you want to plug?
You can find me at Theo Ash NFL on Twitter and TikTok, and then my collaborative effort, the Stay Hot podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Make sure to give him a follow, subscribe, do all those amazing things. Theo does tremendous work. And Dusty, I know there's a million different things we can follow you on. Plug them all, my man.
Yeah, I won't take up too much time here. Yeah, on Twitter at Dusty Evely, I'll scream everything that I do there. It's something for Cheesehead TV. I do weekly. I've been doing a thing with John Kuhn this year over on Cheesehead YouTube channel. This week we did a 25-minute one. We looked at 9 plays, which is 10 minutes and 6 plays more than anything we've done so far, but really, really fun. It's been really great doing that with him all year and learning the game from someone who used to play it and going through and tracking what this offense has been doing well as the season's been going on. It's been awesome. So that one's up now. And listen, there's going to be at least one more. I'm hoping at least 3 more this season before it's all over, but there's going to be at least one more. That's been awesome.
Those guys have been killing it every single week. Those episodes are super fun. So make sure you're checking it out. And of course, you can find Dusty, Steve, and Sarah on the Pack a Day podcast as well. You can find, again, Theo Ash NFL. You can find Dusty at Dusty Evil. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL. That's going to do it for us tonight. Vex, thank you so much again. Appreciate you a ton and appreciate all the super chats tonight and new members. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.